And here we are again, yet again, people, another Thursday show. Welcome, everybody. I can see you all joining in the chat. Don't forget to retweet this. Don't forget to share it. Don't forget to go into the comments afterwards and leave a comment. I would appreciate it. Today is Thursday, the 7th of December, 2023. As always, strong Bitcoin hand. And as always, this is your alternative to the BBC, the Bullish Bitcoin channel. And I am Brian, the UK Bitcoin Master. Have I got a treat for you all today? I'll tell you about that in a second. Firstly, disclaimer, you can read it there. None of this is financial advice, so don't take it as that. Secondly, there are the two QR codes. I'm not going to leave them on the screen because I've got this treat in store. So go stop the video and then scan them. But there are my two websites with all of my videos housed. And then last but not least on this particular page, not your keys, not your coins. Remember, get them off exchanges because they don't belong to you if they are on a custodial exchange. They belong to them, and if they go down, you lose your coins. Very, very quickly, shout out to the Orange Pill app. If you're not on it, you'll want to get on it. There's a link in the show notes so you can get 10,000 free sats. So do check that one out. I'm going to get rid of that right now and bring me back up because what I want to do is get into what the show is all about. Okay, about a week ago, I was on Andre's channel, which is Aimstone. He's got a YouTube channel. I've been following him for a couple of years now, and he asked me to come on so that he could interview me, and I did, and I absolutely loved it. And so that we've got it on my channel, I'm going to run that for you all now. Now, I know some of you would have seen it and some of you would not have seen it. But if you haven't seen it, stick around. I think it was an incredible interview. I was extremely bullish. If you have seen it, watch it a second time around. Felt relaxed. I just let it all spew out. So enjoy it. I will come back at the end to wrap the show up because I've got an announcement at the end. So hope you enjoy it. I'm going to hand you over now to Andre to interview me. Here we go.
Hey guys, welcome back to Aimstone channel. I am with the one and only Brian, UK BitcoinMaster. Of course, he's from UK. Brian, how are you?
I'm very well, Andre. I'm really excited to be here chatting with you. I'm excited to be chatting Bitcoin with anyone, actually. So good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. So for the start, maybe you can give a little bit of your background and how you got into Bitcoin.
Well, you know, I tend to talk to the regular working class guy out there because that's my background. I mean, I left school at 15 with nothing. I hated school, couldn't stand learning. And I then sort of bummed around job to job, really all menial, driving forklifts, working on building sites. You know, that sort of stuff. I'm uneducated, got a lot of pretty pictures on my arms. And then when I was old enough, I got my truck driver's license, lorry driver, we call it in the UK, truck driver overseas. And I did that for over 20 years of my life. And I loved it. I didn't want to do anything else. I literally didn't. Unfortunately, I got a really pretty serious illness, which I won't go into now, but I still carry that illness with me today. I've had it for 42 years now, and that stopped my trucking job, for want of a better word. Spent several years watching my first wife struggle to keep our home, pay our mortgage and everything else while I could barely walk. And long story short, in 96, somebody asked me to look. Now, this is going to be where the haters come in at an MLM business. And I'm not going to talk MLM and I'm not going to shill MLM, but this is what I am going to say to the Bitcoiners out there. Bitcoiners are quick to jump all over what I call crap coins, call them scams. And I'm as much guilty, of that as anyone. We'll get into that. But equally, in the MLM industry, there are tons and tons and tons and tons of MLM scams where people make a load of money off gullible people that join them. But then, like Bitcoin, within the MLM industry, there are a handful of companies that are over 2 billion in size, and the company I found from Arizona is one of them. And it's been very kind to me, Andre. It's given me a residual income for 27 years. Where I haven't needed to go out and work for anybody else. I help other people achieve second incomes, etc. Now, why is that relevant to a Bitcoin conversation? Because people say to me, I can't afford to dollar cost average. I can barely afford to pay my bills, never mind put any money into Bitcoin. And I then turn around to them and I say, then here's what you need to do. If you believe that Bitcoin could give you and your family a better life, find a way to develop yourself another income. Go out and get a second job, but find a way to put something daily, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, into this over a period of time, like a savings plan. And, you know, I never, ever, ever say, oh, I got something that might help, but I know I have. I've got over 3,000 people in my global team, and many of them come to me just to join to earn an extra £200 or £300 or dollars a month, you know, to pay the bills. So I know I can help them. I know I'm not scamming anyone because, you know, the people that come into my team, if they work harder than me, they earn more than me. So I don't have a problem with it. And I love MLM. I've been in one company 27 years. But I believe that Bitcoiners are the same. You know, we go and just tread down, you know, something that we won't research. We won't learn what makes it work, how the pay plans work in a good company. Very much like Bitcoin, I think, really. If people do the research and they dig in and learn all about Bitcoin, they learn why Bitcoin and not crap coins, if that makes sense. And it's the same with what I've been doing. And in all honesty, Andre, my wife and I had retired in 2015. And we moved from the UK down to the Canary Islands, a small group of islands just off of the, you know, North Africa. And I thought I was there to retire and never work again. I'm in my mid-60s. And it was then that I got this really strange call. And this guy called me from the UK on my phone, and he said, can you jump on? I mean, no, I know him, you know, but he said, can you jump on Skype? And I went, but I'm around the pool, the sun's out. What do I want to get on Skype for? He said, you might want to get on Skype. So I did. And that was in May 2017, May the 23rd. And I jumped on Skype. Now, my wife, who's a great advocate of Bitcoin, she supports my channel, supports my show, always in the chat, moderating and stuff. So we're on board together, which is unique because a lot of couples don't have that. Yep. And so my wife came and listened. And, of course, this guy started to talk to me about Bitcoin. Andre, I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. As a boomer, I said, what's that? What is it? And he said, you've never heard of Bitcoin? I went, no. He said, you've never heard of cryptocurrency? I said, what the hell is that? What a strange name. What is that? I knew nothing. Honestly, nothing. And it was then that he spent about an hour and 3/4. He talked to me about it and money and inflation and, you know, all this sort of stuff. And a lot of it was going over my head because I don't have a financial background. I'm a regular guy. But what he said, Andre, made sense. It made sense enough for me to jump on my computer in 2015. So we're now 8 years ago, nearly 9 years ago, which is really frightening, and do some research. And, of course, I came across Andreas Antonopoulos. And I dug into some of his, and I think 3 days in, I had 5 coins. I think Bitcoin at the price I bought was just about $2,050. Now, everyone's saying, oh, golly, aren't you lucky? I believe 10 years out from now, people that bought at 37K, you know, the people that are buying in a decade will be going, oh, aren't you lucky to buy at 37K? It's all relative, I think. But so I bought several at 2K. And then in 2018, we loaded up on a load more at 5K. And we've literally held that now for 6.5 years. And, you know, for me, it was always a 10-year goal. So a roundabout way of sort of giving you my background, Andre, I just happen to believe that Bitcoin is the one shot that humanity has got that we don't want to mess up, of hard sound money, as Jason Williams in his book said, that they can't F with. So that's where I'm at.
Got it. So you bought your first Bitcoin at $2,000?
Yeah, 2050, actually. I've still got all the receipts.
Yeah, that was like early to mid 2017, I believe, right?
It was earlier than, yeah.
Yeah, me too. I bought my first Bitcoin mid 2017. I believe it was like $6,000, but then I keep buying until it reached like $19,000 in late 2017, and then we went to this bear market. I never sold, and then I think I continued like dollar cost averaging. My lowest purchasing price was 2018, like $3,500 when Bitcoin, that was actually like the bottom, $3,200, and then I just continued like dollar cost averaging, and I never sold actually any of my Bitcoin. What about you? Did you sell any? No.
No, I've got every sat. I've got
Awesome.
every sat. It's stored away from my home. People can come and bang my front door down, and unfortunately, we're going to need to drive about 100 miles, and then it's not going to be easy for them to get it. So please come and try. So I've locked down my security. I'm very mindful of my OPSEC, so I've done everything to obfuscate, my home address, my contact numbers, emails, and everything. So, I always say that if they want your Bitcoin, they'll find a way. If they really, really want it, what worries me more than anything, if I'm honest, my wife thinks I'm crazy with, all the security on my Mac and everything that I do. I worry that maybe a hacker put something on your machine like a key locker or something, and then it lays dormant there, and you don't plug your hardware device in for maybe 5 or 10 years. You think everything's cool. You go and plug it in and wonder why your balance is zero. That's the real scary thing for me. I shouldn't be scared, and I teach people, family members, etc., how to store their Bitcoin securely. But you've done it. When you go to move something and it doesn't show up instantly like it does with your bank, and your heart starts racing, you start thinking, have I done something wrong? We've all been there. And the more you've got, the more dollar value it holds, the more scary that is when you do it. So it's locked away somewhere safe.
Yeah. So you have a hardware wallet, I believe?
I do, yeah.
Like cold storage. Awesome. Yeah, me too. I have a ledger, and once I remember I usually don't check very often my ledger, maybe like once a month or whatever. And once I checked it, there was like balance zero. I'm like, what the hell? But then it's quickly updated, and it went to this regular price of like, oh my God, what the hell's going on?
Doesn't it make you feel sick? Doesn't it make you feel sick?
Yeah, it happened once, but like, I don't want to see that again.
No, it's horrible. And I think we're still so early that, the user experience has to get better. It has to improve. But, that's with time. Innovation's coming at breakneck speed, and I'm sure all of that will happen. So I'm pretty cool about it, but it's scary.
Yeah. Okay, Brian, so let me ask you a next question. Why Bitcoin? Why do you invest? Why do you believe in Bitcoin?
Do you know something? With me, there's no straight answer, so I'm just going to have to say it as it is. When I bought my Bitcoin, I thought I'll diversify. You hear this word. So I got, I don't know, I think I bought 7 Ethereum. And because I didn't know any different, Andre. And I sat on them and did my research, and I came across a channel called BitcoinMaster. You may have heard of him, you may not have heard of him. Huge channel. And I came across Andreas Antonopoulos and BitcoinMaster from Baltimore. And when I heard BitcoinMaster, I thought, the guy's either loopy, he's either totally crazy and lost his marbles, or he's totally onto something. And he was being interviewed, and he was screaming about Bitcoin and this and Bitcoin that. And anyway, I started following his channel, and I followed his channel. He went live every day I think I followed him for nearly 6 years solidly before he decided to back off and not do videos every day. And he made just so much sense, and I learned lots of things. He taught me, divisibility, portability, scarcity, immutability, and all the words we've all heard over and over and over. And so for me, I very quickly got that, Bitcoin was being talked of as different to everything else because Satoshi had disappeared. So I quickly got the weak link, the weak point. So if you've got a company that's got a CEO and offices, okay, great. The company might be great. Their idea might be great, etc. But of course, if a government wants to co-opt that, they can simply walk in, take the computers, arrest the CEO, You know, we've seen it play out, haven't we? So I saw that as an attack vector or a weak point. So when I learned that, you know, Satoshi had disappeared, I thought, well, that makes complete sense, because what are they going to do? Go and arrest the CEO of Bitcoin? And they can't. Now, that said, when I got into this in 2017, even in the run-up to December I think it was 13th when we hit the top, or the 17th, I can't remember, 19,800 or whatever it was, around there. I was still calling my family saying, this thing's going to the moon, you got to get in, you got to get in, you got to get in. And of course, a lot of them bought. And then what happened? We went the other way, and then we had 2018 and 2019. But where I am now, I've been through 2 bears now. Okay, and I'm zen with it all. It doesn't bother me. Sure, you know, there's a heck of a drawdown when you look at your, you know, your dollar amount of what your BTC holdings are worth when you see it go down. But I decided long ago, Andre, that this is for my children, my great-grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, my grandchildren. So if I get something good out of it at the back end of my life, great. I think I will with what's happening. But really, as I'm in tune with Saylor, and that is never, ever, ever sell your Bitcoin. Never, ever sell your little percentage of global money that can't be ever printed, you know. So there's so many things that made me quickly realize it's Bitcoin, not crap coin. Sorry, I don't use that other word. And I just decided, I got rid of my ETH. I turned it into Bitcoin. And literally, if somebody says to me, do you hold any altcoins? I have to say, no. There isn't a wallet kicking around anywhere that's even got some dust on it. I swept the lot because I wanted every sat I could. I claimed my Bitcoin Gold. I claimed my B-Trash. I claimed my BSV. I turned it into Bitcoin, you know, and I've just literally sat on it for 6.5 years. I claimed actually free Hex. You know, you got the Hex airdrop. Now, Hex is a scam to me, but if you had Bitcoin, you got this airdrop, which I claimed, and I sat on it, locked it up for a year, and I thought, well, if it goes to zero, I didn't have to pay for it. I got it because I own Bitcoin anyway. And then once the unlock period comes, if there's anything left, I'll get out and I'll turn it into Bitcoin. And I did. And I'm not going to tell you how much, but it was a large amount. It was in the thousands. And I bought Bitcoin with it. So I did well. I never, ever would promote something that Richard Hart's behind. I just wouldn't. Yeah. Okay. The point is, if somebody's going to give me something for free that I can turn into Bitcoin, I'll take it. Thank you. Because I'm not talking about it. I'm not saying it's got any value, but it didn't cost me anything in the first place. So if it does do something, and then I can get out when it's unlocked and turn that into more Bitcoin, way to go, as far as I'm concerned. Way to go. And that's exactly what I did. So today, you can try and find any wallet you like of mine and see if there's any dust on it. As far as I'm aware, there's nothing bar Bitcoin. 99.99999% recurring, strong Bitcoin holder.
Yeah, 100%. You're doing very well. So for me, personally, why I decided to go into Bitcoin, like before Bitcoin, I was like very like hardcore Warren Buffett, deep value investor. I would not buy anything like overvalued. You always have to look for intrinsic value. But then one of my friends suggested me like look into Bitcoin, and like first, like out of the bat, I realized that it was like very speculative. I do not want to get into it. But then as I start learning more, and simultaneously I was studying more economy, what's going on with inflation, with dollar debasement, and so on and so forth, then I realized that Bitcoin can actually be like a hedge against a potential like dollar collapse or like credit collapse, and of course like inflation. So then I just started buying more Bitcoin, and also I think Bitcoin is way more superior money compared to gold or even like fiat currencies. Bitcoin has all the properties that gold has, like a unit of account, divisibility, fungibility. The most important one is, of course, store hold of wealth for a long period of time. Like gold survived for many thousands of years for a reason. It did not happen by accident. For example, like rocks or any other like metals, they failed us money because of the properties. And I believe Bitcoin has even better properties than gold. So yeah, that's the reason why.
Agreed.
Yep.
Try taking a bar of gold through an airport lounge. Try slicing a corner of your gold off to buy a car. It's just
not going to happen. Yep.
It's not the money for the modern world in the 2020s. There's nothing wrong with gold, and I'm very much with Larry Lepard. I've met him in person. What a lovely gentleman. I'm very much with him that, Bitcoin and gold are sound money. They are fighting for sound money. The problem is if you're looking to preserve value, then there's nothing wrong with gold. If you're looking to preserve your purchasing power. But if you're looking for wealth creation, gold isn't going to give it. If you're looking for an asymmetric upside, then you have to look at why Bitcoin can give you that where gold can't. But they're both sound money. I just think that over time, the gold bugs are going to see this. I struggle with people like, I call him Shifty Pete. I don't want to give him airtime, but I struggle when I saw him, when you interviewed him, that, there's something going on. Either he gets this and he's stacking like mad and trying to suppress the price, and also, of course, he's got a gold fund, so, he's not going to shoot himself in the foot. Or he doesn't get it and he's totally stupid, which I don't think he is. He certainly understands macroeconomics and the rubbish that's going on out there with what the money printer and everything else. He gets all of that. But I don't understand why he wants to hit on it all the time. I mean, there's a whole army of them. I tweeted something yesterday. It had Paul Krugman on it. It had Shifty Pete, Jamie Dimon, and all those names that you... Anyway, Go on, carry on. Sorry.
I think with Shifty Pete, there is conflict of interest because, of course, he has like a gold fund. He does not... I think he stated not so long ago that his gold sales will down 60% year to year. So I think it makes sense. If Bitcoin going to go up, then his sales going to be diminished, and maybe at one point of time he will go has to close his business, or of course it makes sense for him to promote gold, not Bitcoin.
Yes. It does make sense. Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know why he. I like Larry Lepard. He on both sides. He also has his gold fund, but simultaneously he likes Bitcoin and gold. So it makes a lot of sense. But Peter Chief, he's very close-minded. I think delusional person.
You shouldn't say that. You've had him on your show, but he does strike me as that. I've got a tweet actually. I think it's about 2 years old now, where he was, beating up on Bitcoin, and I think I responded back with something like, "I'm not sure how well your comments are gonna fare." So I'm keeping that for 5 years, and I've got an alarm to ping me when the 5-year anniversary of that tweet is up, and let's see who wins, who's right, who's wrong. And I'm not saying I'm right. I simply feel with everything that I've learned over 6.5 years, and Andre, my wife will validate this. I spend probably, I would say, to be conservative, 2 hours every morning and 2 hours before bed, and I follow several podcasts religiously, including yours. And I watch them all, and I learn. I love all your, little animations and stuff. I wish I could do that, but I can't. And I follow these people, and it helps me to build a picture of where I'm at, where my wealth is at, what I should consider. I even watch a few analysts like Invest Answers. Corey Clipson really slammed on him and called him a scammer and everything else. But, he is a trader. And I believe that most people shouldn't trade because they're going to get totally wrecked. They really are. Unless you're in the in crowd, you haven't got a cat in hell chance. But what I watch him for is what he's saying about the trends of where Bitcoin is going to go and what might happen with Bitcoin. That's what I'm interested in. If he does a face-off as he does, with, say, I don't know, something like Solana and ETH, I never watch it. I just turn right off. I don't want to watch it. And for those out there that are, like altcoins, etc., I've got nothing against that. I'm okay with that, but don't talk to me about them. I just personally think that altcoins, you've got the VCs come in, then they pump it to death, and then the retail come in, they dump the bags, the retail get dumped. If that doesn't happen, the SEC are going to jump all over them and, do what they do. And I just think that they dilute Bitcoin's global adoption. They just push it out further and further. And I just think that everything ultimately is going to be built on top of Bitcoin. You've already got a lot of innovation that has now moved away from altcoins and are now starting to build layer 2 and 3 on top of Bitcoin. So I just think that is going to, over time, just get faster and faster. You know, when you look at the likes of Jeff Booth and his Ego Death Fund and, you know, all this sort of stuff. I mean, for me, it's just so exciting. The only issue is I wish I was your age, not mine, but you can't change any of that. But, you know, I say to anybody, you know, just get off zero. Just for goodness sake, spend an hour or two and just watch a couple of pods I can send you a link to, and at least open your mind to the fact that this thing is getting worse and worse and worse, and people are getting poorer and poorer and poorer. Look, I'm old enough, Andre, to know that there was a time when, you know, one person like me could earn a living, have a mortgage for the family. The wife could stay at home and bring up the children, which is what, you know, my wife initially did, my first wife. And but those days are gone. You've got 2 family incomes now, and they are still getting squeezed, and they still can't afford to have their heating on, and they still can't afford to eat decent food, and they go to the cheap shops that we've got here, and they buy this absolute mass-produced, full of rubbish food that, you know, is slowly killing us. And, you know, so the world is getting worse and worse and worse in terms of, you know, monetary value, debasement of our currencies, etc. And I just say to people, look, if you want to step out of that and give yourself half a chance to turn that around and get more purchasing power, then have a look at what Bitcoin can offer. And if I can just say this, Andre, I was at we call it a baby shower. I think it came from the US and now they do it here. And I'm just about to be a great granddad for the first time. And my granddaughter invited me to the baby shower, and I went to the baby shower and I was talking to a family member there, and this family member has just had a lump sum inheritance from their loved one. Their parent has just died. And I said to them, and I won't say he or she, I'll just say them, and I said to them, I'm never going to get the chance to say this to you again, but here's what I'm going to say to you. Get 1 Bitcoin right now. I can't afford to do that. I need the money. I need the money for other things. I said, I'm never going to say this again, but I'm telling you, in 3 to 5 years, you're going to come to me and say, I made a right mess up, didn't I? And you are going to. And it was just, this is what people are like. I know I don't know the inheritance, but 1 Bitcoin would have left that person several tens of thousands. And it was the pushback. And why? They won't take the time to learn why we're saying this. They won't understand that if you got some... Why do people pay 68 million for a Mona Lisa? Because it's scarce. And I know I've done it all. I've tried it all with them, and, you know, I love my family to death, but if they're not interested in listening, you know, I hate the memes, have fun staying poor, but they'll have to.
Right, so this time what I try to do, instead of tell them, hey, go buy yourself a Bitcoin, thank me later, what I'm trying to tell them, hey, maybe you should go learn about Bitcoin first. Because
he's got a Bitcoin wallet on his phone with about 500 quid in it. So he's listening, but he's just not prepared to make... Listen, I've talked to him about putting some away every payday. He's got a good income for what... I said it now, with what he does. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So all I've tried to do is lead the horse to water, and I can't make the horse drink. So it is what it is, really.
As you said earlier, we have basically a failure of monetary system. And I believe in 1930s, like average house was around like $4,000, while average salary was at around $2,000. So within 2 years, you could afford technically a house.
Yeah.
And right now, average house was like $450,000, $60,000, while average salary is like $60,000, $70,000, which you have to make like save for like 10, 15 years to afford the house, which makes like totally like no sense. So that's why people should buy Bitcoin.
I tell you what I feel. I had Preston Pish on my show. I interviewed Preston Pish, and he said something on the interview, and he said the challenge is the majority of people on planet Earth to learn about Bitcoin is an inconvenience, and it gets in the way of their television. That's the reality. Most people, and I said this, I didn't want to learn at school. I hated school. But the moment I stepped into Bitcoin, I just couldn't stop learning. Isn't it interesting? When you find something that you've got a passion for, you can't stop learning. And the books I've read, absolutely crazy. You know, from the Bitcoin Standard to the Creatures from Jekyll Island. I mean, crikey, that is one heck of a book. I'm about to start on the Mandibles. Jason Williams's Bitcoin Money You Can't Mess With. I won't use the F word. But, you know, so all of a sudden, when you find a passion, you want to learn. And I struggle with why people don't want to open their mind to something that could give them future wealth. I struggle with that because, you know, we've got a mentality here in the UK, and I'm sure it's the same in America, where people drop £2 on a lottery ticket hoping they win the millions. When the challenge is, if they win the millions, within 3 to 5 years, they've blown the whole lot and they're back where they started, because you've got to learn about money. You've got to learn about how to make money work for you. And that's a process. So for me, it's not just learning about Bitcoin. Over 6.5 years, I've learned about the Federal Reserve, how it came into existence, etc. I've learned about the money printer. I've learned about, you know, the war machine that is all the money we spend, our countries spend on sending our troops to wars to kill them. And it's all about making more money for the war machine. You know, you learn so much more about the world, and then you start to understand the role that Bitcoin can play in that world. And for me, I just find it absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Now, listen, I'm going to say this. I'm not Peter Schiff. I'm not British Hodl. I'm a regular guy called UKBitcoinMaster from the UK who stacked a load of Bitcoin 6 years ago, decided that I had something to offer boomers, and started a YouTube channel in April 2018. And I thought, I've got other things I'm doing. I'm pretty busy, so I'll just go live twice a week, every Monday and every Thursday. And I believe that somebody may go and watch something like a Simply Bitcoin, or they may go and watch a Swan or a Preston Pish talking with Robert Breedlove, something like that. I saw that one with Breedlove, well done. And they listen to 5 minutes and they think, oh, that's right over the top of my head. I can't get my head around that. But they might find a channel like mine that is low-key, Bitcoin signal, few news articles, a few great tweets, a video of the day, 30 to 35 minute show that people might sort of say, yeah, I like this. And I've started building a following of people that say to me, look, you know, if I want to go and get tech stuff, I'll go to Simply Bitcoin or I'll go to Swan. But yours, it's inspiration. You know, you've got a great little community growing. And that's why I do it, Andre. That's why. So I hope you're enjoying the interview so far. Just a really quick interlude, if I may, to give a shout out to the show sponsors. As many of you are aware now, I'm being sponsored by the Best of Exmoor. It is a site that houses 200 luxury cottages in the United Kingdom. I've got behind this because the guy that runs it, Chris, is a Bitcoiner, and we were chatting and he was asking how he could get more exposure on his, if you like, his cottage, his holiday cottage portfolio. So he's sponsoring my show, and I'm going to give him a plug every time I do my show. I would encourage you all to check this out because every one of us loves having a holiday. As you can see here, there's all sorts, pet friendly, sea view properties. There's properties with many bedrooms. It's just an incredible portfolio, and I would encourage you to check it out. If you're out of the UK and you want to know where it is, it's in the southwest corner of the UK, a beautiful part of the world. And if you scan this QR code, you can actually see what's there. You can pay for a property in Bitcoin. You can pay for a property in crappy fiat. You can use my code UKBM30, and that will give you a bit of a discount as well. So do check out the Best of Exmoor. But right now, let's get back into the interview.
What you just said that like you learned about like Federal Reserve, how it was created. What I recently learned that like the main money creation happens not in the central bank but in retail banks. And I just learned, I mean, I heard about that a long time ago, but it did not click. So what it clicked to me recently For example, if you buy a house, you take mortgage from the bank. So what I thought the process was that a bank lends you money, but the reality, they do not lend you anything. They just create money out of the thin air, and then they just give you the money for the house, and then you just pay interest for the next like 30 or 20 years, which is like
they add it to their balance book.
Yeah.
Their balance.
Yeah, so they do not lend you anything. They just create money out of the thin air, like retail banks, which is crazy.
There was somebody that said it in the US, and I might butcher this quote, but it was something like, if the people knew what was really going on with the governments and banks, there'd be an uprising by the morning. I think it might be Henry Ford or someone said it, but it's true. Most people have, look, hands up, before I discovered Bitcoin, before I got that call, to me, inflation was just everything, prices going up. That's not inflation. Inflation is an inflation of the money supply. But I had to learn that. And most people, they don't only not know about it, they don't learn about it. And even if they were taught it in school, it's too boring for them. You know, but of course we've got this Keynesian economics, you know, now we've got the Austrians coming out more and more, which is, you know, where I'm at really. People just don't want to learn about it. You know, they just think, I can't be doing with all of that. You know, I'll be okay. I'll do some overtime and I'll survive. I don't want to get poorer and poorer and poorer over time. I don't want to live in a totalitarian state where, like in China, you know, it's your facial recognition when you walk in. You don't need to pay by a credit card, and your credit score goes down if you're late for a payment, or you ran a red light, or, you know, you said something bad on Facebook, which I don't use. You know, all of these things, I want my escape route from that, and I absolutely see Bitcoin as Christine Lagarde said, the escape valve. And, you know, I say to people, anybody watching this, if you have any Bitcoin on an exchange, on a custodial wallet on your phone, get it off and get it onto a hardware device, because only then do you own and control the bearer instrument. Otherwise, you're going to get wrecked. You really are. You know, Wallet of Satoshi have just done what they've done in the US. Now, you know, they say it's only the US, but, you know, I've swept it into Phoenix Wallet. I just don't want to take the risk. I keep some on there. But for me, Andre, every single sat counts. So, you know, if anything has a CEO, or there's a company or a board or whatever it is, you don't want to be getting involved in it. Just buy and hold Bitcoin on a hardware wallet and then get on with and enjoy your life, because you blink and in a heartbeat, you're no longer in your 20s or 30s. Like me, you're in your mid-60s and you wonder where it went. You really do. People say that all the time. My dad said it to me, and you know, when I was in my 20s and 30s, it was sort of, oh, yeah. But it goes so fast, it's frightening. It really is. So buy your Bitcoin, hold it for the future, don't sell it, and then get on with and enjoy your life. That's my take anyway.
100%, yep. Another very fascinating thing about Bitcoin, that Bitcoin is decentralized and people do not truly understand what that means. Like, Bitcoin has been in the market, I believe was 2009, so that's 14 years. And Bitcoin has not been hacked for 14 years, but if you look at the like centralized entities like banks or even government, they get it hacked all the time. So that's another, I think, like decentralization could be one of the most like important like functions in Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand that whatever a particular nation state does, let's say they ban it, you know, Bitcoin's global. It makes, and I remember, I lose track of time, but I think it's about 2 years ago now, where China kicked out the miners, and you know, everyone was saying, oh, you know, China, you know, biggest nation on earth, or whatever they're saying, is, you know, is kicked it out and Bitcoin's going to plummet. That's the end of Bitcoin. They're still mining. I think 20% of the Bitcoin hash rate, I believe, or I might have butchered it, but it's around that figure, is still coming out of China. You know, it is decentralized means, and I run a full node. My full node is running over in the corner. It's been running for 2 years, and I literally forget it's there. I really do. And I am doing my little bit as a node to verify all the transactions. For those that don't understand this, you download the entire Bitcoin blockchain. It took about 9 days for mine to download, and now it just updates every 10 minutes. It's running all the time, and I am helping secure the Bitcoin network. So if you've got tens and hundreds of thousands of nodes around the world that are verifying all the transactions, well, good luck trying to come to everyone's door and take our nodes away. They haven't even got enough manpower to keep up with the HMRC, the Inland Revenue here in the UK. Never mind send forces out to every single home and knock a door and say, "Do you run a Bitcoin node?" Good luck with that one.
Not gonna happen. Yep, 100%. Brian, do you run your Bitcoin node on your laptop, or you have like a desktop computer?
No, I build your own Raspberry Pi 4, 2 terabyte hard drive. I bought all the equipment on Amazon. And I mean, to be honest with you, Andre, I had some help building it from a good friend of mine in California. But now I look back on it, it's like so simple to do, but like anything, it's like try driving a car for the first time, and you got to use all these levers and those pedals and try and steer the steering wheel and do it all at the same time, and you crash into a hedge. Well, and then all of a sudden you've been driving a couple of years and you do it on remote control. When I look at my node now, I know that I could from scratch go and build another node because it's so easy. The hardest part is flashing the SD card with Ballerina Etcher or whatever it's called, but that's a piece of cake when you know what you're doing. So for me, I decided to buy the components on Amazon, build it myself, and it just purrs away. The only issue I had was the fan got loud, and I bought another casing, and it's been sat there for a year. And, even now, I mean, I went the whole hog. I bought what we call an UPS machine, which is like a battery that plugs into your mains, that if your electricity goes down, if you kill your full node, you can wreck the drive or corrupt it. So now that, if the electricity goes off, I get 2 hours of electricity running to the node only. And so it's low powered, so that thing can run and give me time to switch it off, so I don't corrupt the hard drive. And it's absolutely superb. Again, I think I paid 120 quid for it, but it was so worth it because we get loads of, I don't know what you call them. I think you call them surges, where the electricity goes off for like 10 seconds and it comes back on again. Well, that's enough to corrupt a hard drive. So I went the whole hog and got the UPS battery as well. And it's beautiful. I mean, I run the Umbrel node. I've got it set up so that I can actually access it when I'm away from home using the Tor network. And honestly, I love it. I mean, as a 64-year-old, it's just reinvigorated me learning all this tech and learning about Bitcoin and decentralization and everything else. Honestly, I'm fascinated by it all. And you can clearly tell I'm extremely bullish too.
Brian, so going back to our previous topic, Bitcoin versus gold, why do you think Bitcoin is superior and why people should more focus on Bitcoin rather than gold?
Well, I'm going to say it again. Gold is a good method of keeping your purchasing power. Okay, it is. And it's got a history of 5,000 years. Nothing wrong with that. But I always say it's very much like, all the people crying out that we don't need dirty motor cars. There's nothing wrong with a horse and cart. Okay, you have that transition period. Everything's done on the internet now. Our computer is on our phone. It goes everywhere with us. Most countries now have got, we've got data bundles, unlimited data in the UK that, that it doesn't cost very much at all. As Jeff Booth says, everything's trending downwards in its cost. So, I said it a few minutes ago. Honestly, try moving a bar of gold across borders. Just see what happens when you get to the airport. You've had it. You're going to be arrested. There was a load of gold moved recently. It was all over Twitter, and it took like 2 weeks and hundreds of men and millions of dollars to move this batch of gold, a pallet of gold, or whatever it was. And yet you can take $10 billion, with 12 words in your head through an airport lounge. So is that not a big enough reason? I always tell this story. in terms of trying to send value across continents. We have a group of us on my show where we have a 21 million club meetup once a month on Zoom. We chat on a Saturday evening. We have a glass of wine, and we were on there, and there was a chap joined us from 180 miles north of Scotland in the North Sea. He was on an oil rig. And he joined us from his computer, and one of my friends down in California, we literally set him up with Wallet of Satoshi, and we sent him value in about 15 seconds, and his jaw was on the floor. You try doing that with gold. Bitcoin crosses all borders, and it is unstoppable, and it's uncensorable. Now, you can lose your Bitcoin. Your Bitcoin wallet can be hacked if you're playing around with websites on your computer. You shouldn't be, or be very mindful of all of that. But Bitcoin hasn't been hacked. Not only that, Andre, if the price of gold shoots up, I tell you right now, they will mine more of it. They reckon they can get it off asteroids. They'll be digging up the oceans. They'll find a way to mine more gold. You are never going to be able to make more Bitcoin. They can try. You can have a fork of Bitcoin, but if the miners and the node operators don't go to that chain, then that chain dies. We saw it with Bcash, or Bitcoin Cash, as they wanted, Roger Ver wanted to call it. It died a death. If you look at it compared to Bitcoin, it is trending to zero. It really is. So they can try all they want to fork it off, but consensus won't let them unless it's a good upgrade for Bitcoin. So, 21 million scarcity, okay? Nobody can verify how much gold. They don't even know if there's any in Fort Knox, okay? So nobody can verify exactly how much gold there is. We don't know how much of it is in jewellery. It's lost its monetary premium, in my opinion. If you think about it, gold demonetised silver. And I believe Bitcoin is going to demonetize gold. Why? Because people don't want to hold a bar of gold. As the boomers die off, crikey, don't say that, I'm one of them. But as the boomers die off and they pass their wealth down to their younger generations, I get mixed up with Gen Z and Gen X. I don't know what they all are, but basically they've been surveyed. I think over 75% of them said, we want crypto. I hate crypto, but, let's call it Bitcoin because I'm a Bitcoin-only guy. The point is, as the generations die off, the new generations are going to want digital money. That's what I think. Now, here's the thing. Yep. People push back and say, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, if, Bitcoin's 14 years old, why hasn't it become money yet? They don't understand. And there is no proof of work, no get down the rabbit hole and do your research. It's understanding that a new innovation, okay, you could take the iPhone, you could take the iPad, it doesn't matter. First 10 years, maybe up to 10% adoption. Next 10 years, maybe another 80% adoption. And we're in that next 10 years right now. So you're going to get the crossover period where you're always going to get the Paul Krugmans. You're always going to get the Jim Cramers of the world and the Shifty Petes of the world and the Jamie Dimons of the world. But it is doing your own research, understanding the scarcity of Bitcoin, Andre. And here's one thing I haven't mentioned yet. Around 4 million coins are gone forever. Yep. If you, not you, Andre, but you watching this right now, have not heard the story of the young man from Wales in the UK that threw a hard drive into a landfill site that had 7,500 Bitcoins on, he got a team of experts around him last year, including the racing driver Richard Hammond from an iconic programme in the UK called Top Gear. And Richard Hammond got involved with some experts that had heat-seeking equipment that could go down into landfill sites and it could find hard drives and get the keys off of hard drives, even if they're corrupt. They raised 11 million, I believe, in crowdfunding. He was going to give his local council 50 million on getting his Bitcoin back. And at the time, his Bitcoin had a value of 320 million. And they denied him. And now he's going through the courts to try and push to get it lifted up. They're probably gone forever. Satoshi's million coins are locked up. People are still losing their keys even today. So the way you got to think of it, in my view, coming from a basic, regular, working class guy, is you can end up maybe 17 million coins. And you've got to divide 17 million coins by 8 billion people. It is coming. The tirade of money is coming. ETFs, my friend calls it a trifecta. You've got the ETFs are going to be approved. You've got the halving coming up. You've also got an election year next year in the US. But on top of that, you've then got the money printers going to have to go burr at some point. Otherwise, they're going to collapse economies. Put them four together. If you don't see a $1 million Bitcoin coming before the end of the 2020s, well, I do.
2030s.
I don't make price predictions, but it is coming. Get your Bitcoin, store it securely, and be patient, is what I say.
Yep, 100%. We also have a lot of rumors about potential Bitcoin spot ETF. A lot of people thought that it should have been approved by this time. What do you think is going on with all those rumors?
Look, we've all got our own opinions, and mine is nothing more than an opinion, so take it for what it's worth, people. I just maybe think that they want to suppress the price until all these ETF applicants have got their ducks in a row. Of course, they want to get Bitcoin as cheap as they possibly can. In all honesty, Andre, I don't know. I don't know what the SEC are doing. There's a part of me that says, Gary Gensler taught this at MIT, for goodness sake. He knows Bitcoin. Does he feel that he needs to get rid of all the crap coins and clean it all up? And, Bitcoin is the future of money and there's only, winner takes all. Is that part of it? Are they manipulating it down? Do you know what? I just really don't know. I don't understand it enough to have a definitive answer, but it all runs through my head. All I know is if you listen to British Hodl's take on, the 118 to 1 metric that for every dollar comes in, it will go up $118. I think it's the former CEO of BlackRock said that when an ETF hits over 3 years, something like 150 to 200 billion will come into Bitcoin. We'll start getting a calculator out and see what that will do to the price. I hate price predictions, but I do feel strongly that we will see a Bitcoin that is over $250,000 in late 2024, 2025. Whether we'll get a blow off top of 500,000, then a 60% correction, I don't know. Are we going to go into a super cycle now? All the institutions are coming in and it goes up forever, Laura? I don't know. All I know is, and I said this to my family member the other day. So you've got 37,000. Well, it's British pounds here, so about 31. You got that sat in a bank. What are they paying you? He said, getting 5% interest. I said, and yet even with Bitcoin in a bear market for the last couple of years, a brutal bear market, it's still returning around 50% growth per year, and you want to leave it sat and get 5% from a bank? Are you mad? So, I have no clue what it's going to do. All I know is I believe that myself and my family are in the right place at the right time to just batten down the hatches, hold strong. Andre, seriously, on my life, I am so zen when the price goes down. I was zen when it went down during the pandemic. I'm not going to say the other word with an L in it, but I've never been vaxxed, by the way. Hate me if you want to, people, but
me neither.
I think it's a total scam. Anyway, that said, when it crashed to 3.5, totally zen. I always felt it would come back. I didn't have any more dry powder, as they call it, to go and get any more because everything's in, if that makes sense. But I rode it back up again. We then went down again. We got to 16 or 15.5, and now we're back at 37. I am totally convinced that Bitcoin will smash 1 million and beyond. But people, it ain't happening next month. You're gonna need to learn to delay gratification. You don't need the Lambo. You just need to hold your Bitcoin, because as the players come in, Andre, I also believe that the innovation behind the scenes is racing at breakneck speed, and there will be financial instruments to securely hold your Bitcoin but get a yield on them. The Lightning Network, for a start. Imagine if you've got some Bitcoin and you maybe put 3 or 4 Bitcoins on the Lightning Network and you earn 3% just for giving the Lightning network liquidity, but you still hold your keys. I mean, it's all coming. That's just something I've sounded off in my head, but it's all coming. And I believe that the banks will ultimately, they'll bite your arm off. They'll give you crazy percentages to be able to custody some of your Bitcoin. But it's got to be in a world where you keep hold of your keys, if that makes sense. I don't know how that looks. I just know in my mixed up head, that's all going on. And that's what makes me so bullish on Bitcoin. And keep in mind how many, you do this on your show, how many addresses are there? 1 million addresses? How many people have got multitudes of addresses? I bet you there aren't more than 200,000 people globally that have got 1 Bitcoin or more. I mean, they're staggering. It makes me want to go and get a megaphone and scream it from my rooftops for people to wake up. But of course they won't. Yeah, sorry, I get really passionate about this.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of yield. As you said, if you can get yield by holding your keys.
Neither am I. SBF yield and all the other yield, definitely no. No, but if it's secure, yeah.
I don't think it will be possible to hold your keys and simultaneously receive yield. But anyway, I think yield, Salfadin once said, it's a cheese in the mousetrap. So basically you think, oh, right now I'm getting 5-3%, whatever, but then after 2 years, everything blew up and you got nothing. So I would say, keep your private keys. And
it's got to evolve before I would even consider doing anything. I'm with Sailor, really, and that is hold your Bitcoin for 100 years, down through the generations. But of course, we all want to have a decent life. Maybe we want to see the world, jump on a plane and meet some of our Bitcoiner friends the other side of the world. So for me, I work on the 80-20. 80% of my wealth is for my descendants when I'm gone, and 20% is for my wife and I to have a fab retirement and do the things that you're supposed to do in retirement, not live on bugs.
100%. Personally, I would like to, if Bitcoin goes to 200-300K, maybe I will buy apartment in New York, but we'll see. I don't want to spend
We've all got a different agenda, haven't we?
Right. Yeah. But I haven't spent any Bitcoin yet, but we'll see what's going to happen in the future. And Brian, what do you think is going to be a bigger catalyst, Bitcoin spot ETF or Bitcoin halving?
Oh, crikey, that's a really difficult one. They keep talking about these diminishing returns. So I think Sailor on a pod I watched recently was saying that, Bitcoin was returning 150 to 200% gains annually. That's down to 50. So you could call that diminishing returns. But of course, if you're 50% on a Bitcoin that's 100 grand, well, that's well worth having. It's still a bigger return on the 50%. In terms of the ETFs, I don't know. I just think that the ETFs coming into play might give Bitcoin a massive initial surge. I think we're going to see, I don't want to offend anyone, but I call it a God candle. I just think people are going to wake up one morning and wonder what the heck happened, when the things doubled overnight, but then I also then believe then we'll have a little bit of a flattening out and maybe even a bit of a pullback when, all the hype of that's over before the ETF actually starts trading. And then I think it's totally off to the races. Each thing on its own, I couldn't tell you which I believe would be the greater catalyst for, powerballing Bitcoin skywards. All I'm passionate about is these 4 things that are all converging together that I mentioned earlier. I think bring them together. And I just believe that, as Preston Pish says, this is going to be face melting. This is going to be absolutely face ripping when this thing starts to really, really go. Do we then do the 60% correction and then a bear market and go off again? Do you know, I don't know, Andre. Maybe we will. Maybe there'll be a couple of more, cycles, if you like, before we see a super cycle where Bitcoin just keeps going and keeps going. My worry is we hear people say, and each to their own, when it tops out, take some profits off the top. Here's my take. If you're going to take the profits off the top, what are you going to put that fiat into? Everything you put it into is not performing like Bitcoin is. So you're going to put it into something. So you put it in your bank. Now your money's being debased 10, 15% each year. What's the point of doing that, if that makes sense? You know, I don't want art. I'm not an art person. You know, for me, I've owned properties. For me now, it's having the freedom to just jump on a plane to another country and live and pay rent for a year, 2 years, move on when they change their goalposts. You know, I want to be a digital nomad. I absolutely do. We're already looking at a second passport right now, because there could be times where wherever we live, we've got to exit the country for the way that the CBDCs are being rolled out, etc., etc. So in a roundabout way to your answer, Andre, I can't tell you which one of them I think is bigger than the other, but I do think the money printer coming on, the ETFs, the halving, plus an election year, I think all of that is going to rip your faces off with the Bitcoin price. That's just me.
It's a very powerful combination to promote
it is.
Bitcoin. So, yeah,
well, it hasn't happened before, has it? It has not happened before.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And there's one more thing, if I can. British Huddle says this, and seriously, I've learned loads from that dude since I've been following him. I've only been following him about 9 months, actually. No, less than that. I started following him when he started putting his face on YouTube and not just, you know, a voice on Spaces. And he was saying people keep talking about the supply crunch, but they're not talking about the demand crunch. And that's what the ETF's going to bring, isn't it? The demand for 1.5 million Bitcoins that are on exchanges. If you look at the metric that you're always showing and others, where they show, you know, the hodlers are getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges is going down and down and down, they're going to be squabbling over crumbs. And the long-term holders. Now, here's the thing to consider. Sorry, it just comes out of my head here. The thing to consider is everyone's got a price to sell some Bitcoin. So there'll always be some liquidity. You know, even you said, you know, you might take some off the top, and you won't be alone. There'll be lots of others. Maybe my mindset will change in maybe a year or two and decide to, you know, get rid of a couple at $1 million a coin or 500,000, whatever it might be. I don't know. At the moment, no. So there'll always be some liquidity. But when you take, correct me if I'm wrong, about 75% of all Bitcoin is on a hardware wallet locked up somewhere, and it ain't, you know, you show these metrics that, you know, the long-term holders, Bitcoin that hasn't moved in a year, mine hasn't moved in nearly 7.
Mine too.
You know, so take that into account. So it blows my mind. I just don't think any of us really can comprehend what's coming. I really don't.
Yep, we will be pleasantly surprised.
Oh, bring it on, baby. Bring it on.
Yeah, like similar, for example, 2016, people were very skeptic. They thought like Bitcoin's not going to go anywhere, and then Bitcoin literally made like 20x within like 1 year. So we might see something similar this time around.
Why can't they do a 20x again? They're likening it to 2017, aren't they? I call them the expert, the analysts that know what they're talking about. They are saying, I think you as well, it looks very, very similar to 2017. So, yeah, 20x is so doable, I think. You know, take the ETFs out, could be doable, but even more so now with, is it 12 applicants for ETFs? Crikey. Mind-blowing.
Double digits, yeah. Yep. Brian, and lastly, where can people find you online?
Whoa, let me do this. It's a lot easier, people. There are my links. Okay, so I'm all over Twitter at UKBitcoinMaster. I've got a podcast. It goes up on my podcast, which you can find if you're a listener on all the podcast platforms, the normal Apple, Google, etc., Spotify. I've got, I think, over 600 videos at ukbitcoinmaster.com. QR code will take you there. I've interviewed, I think, over 80 high-profile Bitcoiners at bitcoininterviews.com. That's only one of my playlists at YouTube, but bitcoininterviews.com takes you there. Preston Pish, Larry Lepard, Greg Foss, Nat Brunel has been on. Crikey, just so many of the... I say top names. It's the people I respect the most that are... They're not gaslighting. It's pure Bitcoin signal. And equally, Andre, if you look at Bitcoiners compared to crap coiners, Bitcoiners, they seem like on level ground. They're not full of hype. They come out with sensible arguments as to why this, why that. they're not trying to shill anything. So I just tried to. Breed Love's been on, James Lavish, loads of them. Check it out at Bitcoin Interviews, people. There's some really good interviews over there. Beyond that, that's really where you can find me. Twitter, I've mentioned. I'm on Nostr. In my show notes, there is my NPub on Nostr. You can find those there as well. So, yeah, people, come and support me as well, because I can help the boomers. I can help the people that are scared when they get in and don't want stuff that's too heavy, like you cover. I couldn't do what you do. And if we collectively can save one noob from getting wrecked and putting their hard-earned money into a crap coin that is a pump and dump, then we all should be pulling together to try and make sure those noobs don't get rug pulled. That's my take. So come and follow me, people, every Monday, every Thursday, 6 p.m. London, UK time, which is 1 p.m. Eastern, until there's a silly clock change. But at the moment, it's 1 p.m. Eastern. It'd be lovely to have some more followers.
Got it, Brian. Thank you so much for doing this.
Do you know, Andre, it's been a delight. I'm always interviewing people, and it's really nice to have somebody ask me some questions so I can just let the hell loose. And hopefully your viewers will get something from it. But it's been an absolute pleasure. It really has. So, what about that then? I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing it. And here's the great news. Next Thursday, the 14th, I'm going to have an actual live guest on my show, and this one's been in the pipeline for a couple of months, nearly 3 months. So I'm massively excited about that. So make sure you're here on Thursday, the 14th, for somebody that I am interviewing live. Okay, I want to pull the show together, if I may, and a quick shout out to the fact that this Saturday we have our final 21 million club of 2023. If you don't know what that is, once a month or once every 5 weeks, we jump on Zoom, half a dozen of us, sometimes 10 of us, and we just talk about Bitcoin, get to know each other, have a glass of your favorite tipple, and it's absolutely superb. It's a select group, and if you'd like to know how you could be part of that group and what the criteria is, if you go into the show notes right now, you will find my link tree that I show you at the end. At the bottom, there is a contact me page. Please note, I will not just answer random questions. It is there to talk about the 21 million club. So if you do want to know how you can be part of it, go down and click on that. So looking forward to that on Saturday. If you're contemplating whether you can or can't join us, just know that if you don't, you may miss a couple of really great tweets, couple of great treats even. So just bear that one in mind. But apart from that, next Thursday, I'll have another live guest. Apart from that, as I always do, I want to finish up with my quote. You know me, I love them. This is from Marcus Aurelius. The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane. And people think Bitcoiners are insane. They think we've lost our marbles. They think we must be crazy. Okay, that's insane. So, be steadfast, stay strong, and ultimately the tides will turn, and then they'll look at us and go, crikey, you people were visionary. And that's why I wanted to show that quote. You don't have to support the show, but if you do want to, there are 3 Sats addresses. There is a buy me a cup of coffee with crappy fiat address from anywhere in the world. There is a Geyser Fund address there. Again, you don't have to, but many people have reached out and said, how can we drop you a tip? There you go. That is it. That is today's live show over, done with. I will be back again on Monday with a live regular show, and then next Thursday, the 14th, with my live guest. So join me for those. So from me to you, have a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Have a fantastic weekend. Don't forget, please, as always, go back into the comments afterwards and leave a comment, because we can then spank the YouTube algorithm. Thanks, British Huddle, for that quote. We can get more people looking at these videos for longer. But for now, I'm done. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the interview with Aimstone as much as I did. I'm going to leave you with my social media links, as I always do. I'm Brian, the UK Bitcoin Master. This is your alternative to the crappy BBC, the Bullish Bitcoin channel. I'm out of here. Catch you all on Monday.